Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Podcast Juice. My name is Michael Dean, and you are listening to the podcast on Prince. And we've got a special one for you today. I've got a number of special guests, and these would be people from, listen, I don't know if you've heard about this. There's an excellent audio drama, I guess you could call it, of Purple Rain that exists on Clubhouse. There's a group called Club Housequake. And I had a chance to hear this. They did this live, and great thing is that it is recorded, so you're going to be able to see the link here in the show notes to go check it out. But I wanted to bring on the people that were responsible for putting this together and ask them some questions about it, and hopefully we can spread the word about this excellent production. So let's welcome everyone in. First off, we have Addie Durant. Addie, how are you?
I'm good. Michael, how are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you for joining us. And then also we have Mr. Louis Laporte, if I'm not butchering your last name, sir.
No, you're perfect. Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, David Belgrave. Sir, how are you?
Hello, hello, hello.
All right. And you guys are a part of the Club Housequake. And correct me if I have the associations wrong, but I wanted to start with David. Sir, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Yeah, let me say, David, a very extensive background in music, art, creative places, cultural land point places like Def Jam. He was a part of. So there's a whole podcast we could do on each one of these individuals. But with that said, David, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your association with Club Housequake?
Yeah, like you said, I did my tours of duty in the music business. First working at Def Jam, and I did video production there, and then moved on over to marketing. And I was there for about 8 years. And then I moved over to Columbia Records, where I continued to do marketing. And I was there for about another 8-9 years. Worked with some great artists. And then ever since then, I had a design, web content and marketing company for a few years with a partner from college. Called We Are Pixelate, and currently I'm working with a company called Tomorrow Media with a couple of other music industry vets, Phil Maillard, who back in the day was directing videos, did De La, Buddy, and Latifah videos, and PRT, and so forth. And then Rod Houston, who used to do video commissioning back in the day at Tommy Boy. So we're there producing documentaries. We're in production now on one about the Mighty Sparrow. I don't know if you're familiar, Calypso artist. Mighty Sparrow, King of Calypso. He's like Bob Marley, but Calypso. He's like that guy. February of last year, we started Club Housequake on the Clubhouse social audio app. And we call it a Prince positivity and learning space. And basically what we would do is we would host weekly rooms, and each week we would dive into some aspect or occurrence or record or facet of Prince's career. Like the first rooms we did, very first room we did was a deep dive into the Black Album, and then we did one Prince's place in Black history. And then whenever possible, we like to get people there to the room that, had something to do with what we're discussing or had something particular to say about what we're discussing. Like, we did a room on Prince's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and we were fortunate enough to get Terry Stewart, the guy who was the president of the Rock Hall at the time, and Lenny Kaye, who was a guitarist for the Patti Smith Group, and he's a voting member and was there on the night of the magical guitar solo and all the other Prince performances. Kirk from the Roots to speak on the guitarmanship, to come there and discuss these things, So we've been blessed to have a bunch of people come by, and it's funny because the Clubhouse app, later on in the year instituted replay. So there are no recordings of these great
Right.
rooms we did. But like you mentioned earlier, fortunately, there is one so that when everybody finishes listening to this podcast, they can go on and listen to Clubhouse Quake Presents Purple Rain.
Absolutely. Okay.
But that's just a little short background on me and the club.
Wow. So Clubhouse Quake. And I'm sorry, when did you say you started?
February 2021.
Okay. Awesome. And I'm assuming, right, like you must be a Prince fan to start something like this, but
yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Okay.
Boom.
Right.
God, I don't have my game show sound effects on tap, but yeah, that's exactly the case.
Okay. I love it. We love it. Addie.
Yes.
See, and I told you before we started recording, your voice just tripped me up a little bit because, I associate it with the narration in that performance, and it sounds like that's your natural sort of smooth voice. So I'm like, okay, kind of throwing me off a little bit. But talk to us a little bit in terms of how you got involved with this production.
Wow. I found Clubhouse Quake, I believe, sometime in March last year. And it was just me just being on the app a lot. I've mentioned this before a couple times. My partner passed away, and so, I had just gotten on Clubhouse, and so for me, it was a tool just to kind of help me cope. Just listening to people talk, and it's COVID, and it's just staying in the house a lot and processing and, dealing with a lot of emotions. So Clubhouse for me has been a way to cope, good, bad, indifferent, because Clubhouse is a lot going on that app. And for whatever reason, I just decided to search Prince, and Clubhouse Quake came up, and I went in the room, and it was like the Mecca. It was just a place where I had found my community that I used to have in real life, and I hadn't in a while. And it's since Prince left, it's been extremely hard for me to listen to his music or talk about him. And I was welcomed with wonderfully warm, open arms, and connecting with the club, and making a few friends. It's been one of the most special experiences that has ever been given to me. And so I'm just so glad that I'm here, and I'm honored to be a part of this club and know these people, and, having to do with this project.
Okay. And also yourself, you are very much have an extensive background in all like graphic design and just creative work. And I saw some of the things you've done, and I was like, oh, you was a part of that. Can you tell us a little bit of some of the things that you are, I guess, most proud of that you've been involved with or created?
Yes, I am a designer, graphic designer, fashion. I craft. I just, I'm always doing something. And, I'm freelance. I've got photo and film, styling and assisting experience. So I've just always been part of a creative process in some way, shape, or form. I guess I would say a couple of the projects I'm most proud of is being part of a reality project that Verizon did. I think it was in 2005, where I lived in a storefront for 21 days, and it was basically to sell DSL at the time. And the premise was, with a laptop and a backpack, a young entrepreneur can get a business plan together in 21 days. So
wow.
Yeah, so I lived in a storefront where it was actually connected to the internet. And I remember it was such a big deal, because it was like 24/7 being on camera. And
What year
so
was this? When was this?
it was 2005. It was
Okay.
called the Verizon Incubator, I believe.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, it was like I literally was in a storefront with it was two glass, windows. It was a storefront. And then just behind one, simple drywall was like a small bathroom and a bed. And so
you're not
I
shy
was,
at all.
well, that's the thing is I am incredibly shy, but if you push me out on a stage for whatever reason, I can step outside myself. It's just one of those things.
Okay.
So there's that. And also I would have to say, a project that, a friend of mine came to me with, Amir, Questlove Thompson, drummer of The Roots, came to me in 2003 with some ideas for some T-shirts. And because doing T-shirts, that's just kind of been my thing growing up. And so I had established myself as kind of like that girl in Philly. And he's always been supportive of my stuff. And one day he came to me and he was like, I need you to make a T-shirt for me that says, Michael, Randy, Tito, Jackie, and I was like, huh? And so he was like very specific. He's like, I want you to use this typeface. I want, the comma has to be there, only one ampersand. And I was like, okay, so I did it. I did like 7 or 8 of them. And there were, now what everybody knows is to be what I call the list. So those are 2 of the biggest things I'm pretty proud of.
Awesome, man. It's interesting the way you described Clubhouse and how you got into it. It so reminds me of like back in the day when like AOL, excuse me, was really starting to pop, or I'm gonna date myself here, like things like CompuServe or something. And you go onto these platforms and you start to search the things that you're into. And I remember I searched Prince, and then you find these groups, these chat rooms or whatever. So it's cool to hear, even in 2021 or whatever, the Clubhouse really started popping, that it still there's still that effect where it's a place you can go and you can find like-minded people, and then it births a whole thing. Lewis, wanted to come to you and tell you on the record how impressive the sound was during this performance. The clips, the music cues, just all of the stuff. And as I told you before, I thought that this was all just pre-recorded. I even thought like the acting part was pre-recorded. Blowing my mind to find out that no, it's actually live. And doing a little bit of audio throughout my careers over the years, I was, like I said, very impressed. And I was like, well, man, who's doing the sound? So when I came across you and I heard about you, one of the first things I want to ask you, and get into your background, but what was like start us from the top in terms, what was sort of the challenging aspect of getting these audio clips from this movie? Like, because we're talking about musical cues. It sounded like you even had some of the background music in parts. Like, what was that like for you? And I'm asking you this too, on one, because you just told us, I believe before we recorded, that you weren't really a super hardcore Prince fan. So I'm like, bring us a little bit into the research.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had respect for Prince, for his music and what he's created. And, anytime I saw him, it was always like, which hot girl was he going to be with, So that was always how it was, But for this project, so you're asking what was the hardest, challenging part of it as far as creating it? To me, it wasn't really a challenging thing in any sense. I mean, I didn't feel like I was being like put on the spot where I couldn't do something.
Okay. Talk your talk,
if that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, I linked up with David through an associate on Clubhouse, and once he stepped to me with the idea, I mean, honestly, it was something that I needed. clear my head based on what's been going on in the world in the last, year and a half. So I honestly needed it in that sense to really get my juices flowing.
Okay.
Music has always been, a serious hobby for me. I've been a vinyl collector since the 80s, DJing and, dabbling. I did some audio, video editing for a while, worked in broadcast. So, honestly, the last few, year and a half, things have just chilled out and I didn't do much. So this kind of got my juices flowing.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And, there's, I have noticed over the years, there's always been, and you bringing up vinyl, it sparked my thing to say this. There's always been brothers that was the technical audio cat of the neighborhood. It was the DJ cat. We all got into DJing back in the day. That was because we got to remember the DJ was the most respected in hip hop for a while. Like you was the man. The rappers and everybody would come to you, and you had the system. That person either had the system or they knew how to make beats and this and that and the third. And there was always that thing though. There was the brother who was always on top of the audio, the next gear. He knew about the new drum machine or what turntables and the mixer, what mixer to put it all together. And sometimes I feel like we don't really spotlight that much. We always spotlight the guy who sort of ascends to be the super producer. But I think they all sort of come from that same chain of the black man and women too, I'm just saying. But that was the technical dude that just knew how to put it all together and probably never went to school for it. Right.
Yeah. No, I was always that way as a kid, like 15, 16, you'd go out DJing. And I'm not going to say I had top of the line gear because back then it was like scrounging up money to come up with, pieces of equipment. When I first started, I had a boombox in my room, DJing on that, hooked up my turntables to that. So I've always took the initiative to be the one, like if you're DJing a party and something happens, people are standing around looking. I always was the one just like, let me try to fix it, and it's worked out. I've always been the technical nerd, I guess you want to call it.
Right. And even till today, it's whatever new app comes up or whatever thing, like how have you seen it change in terms of, doing audio? And like you're a professional at this as well. Like what's been the change to you when you saw something like a Clubhouse? Is that just another in a long line of things you've come across, or do you see anything special about this?
I think Clubhouse is an amazing app as far as what's being done, connecting people throughout the world, being able to communicate. I've been on rooms where people are in India talking, playing their music, and it's like, wow, and everyone is the same when you come down to it. People look at people differently based on where they're from and what they do. But it's like when you sit there and listen to a lot of these people on Clubhouse, everyone's pretty much the same. Take away the accent and the location, and it's like you think you're talking to somebody friends.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And
And what I want to do right here, I wanted to play a little clip from the production to give people an idea of what I heard and what made me stand up and be like, okay, this is serious. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to play a little clip.
Apollonia sits demurely at a table. Morris's eyes are wide and shining. Jerome says,
Apollonia, I would like you to meet Morris E. Day.
With pleasure. All mine.
Morris signals Jerome and whispers in his ear, loud enough for Apollonia to hear.
Too sexy. Have the waitress bring a bottle of their best champagne.
He seats himself, and with a sexy half-lidded look, he says,
Your lips will make a lollipop too happy.
You think so, huh?
Yes.
Kim, the waitress, appears with a bottle of champagne on ice and deliberately clunks the bucket on the table. She knows Morris.
Who's paying for this, Morris?
I think you know that. Jerome.
Jerome appears, opens the bottle with a flair, and performs a classy taste test. Mars pulls out some cash to pay Kim, who snatches the money and leaves.
Keep the change.
He whispers to Jerome.
Get my change, would you?
Of course, Morris, anything.
The kid sees Apollonia and Morris together. He smirks and gets ready to perform.
Would you require anything else besides my company to make you happy? Oh, Lord. Either somebody put something in my drink or you the finest motherfucker I've seen in ages.
Excuse me, what did you say?
You look nice tonight.
All right, man. One of my favorite parts from the movie, and certain parts. And I'm sorry, what was the name of the gentleman playing Morris?
Was it Reginald?
Silence.
No, Ed. No.
Ed Silence. I literally have to put my hand over my mouth every time.
Me too. I was cracking up.
There's
So
parts where he
sexy.
sounds just like Morris. Like, it's just uncanny. It's hilarious. There's a lot going on in that part right there. One, Addie, excellent narration. I wanted to ask you, did you write, I guess, your script or the narration? And if you did, how did you come up with that?
David and I found the manuscript written by Albert Magnoli, and we painstakingly went through it. I mean, I really wish I had documented this process. I'm so mad at myself that I didn't do it, but we were just so deep in it and behind the 8 ball for so much of this project that I just didn't have the energy to. But I don't even know how many hours it took us to do this, but we literally went through and pulled and edited and changed and filled in. So yeah, it just kind of happened.
Wow.
Line by line. I remember we had one 7-hour session.
Whoa.
And then another several hour session. I mean, really, to what Addie's saying, right? We took the original script that we found online and basically converted what were scene descriptions in the movie script into the basis for narration for our all audio production, because, right, we've got to see we've got to say what is seen in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're just giving you background information in the script, we had to just turn that into what Addie's actually saying, how she's describing the scene. And then, sometimes you could just take some of those verbatim, but oftentimes you gotta actually do some editing to the actual word just to make it be grammatically correct or make sense or whatever. And some of them you didn't use. And then something that we might have needed to be in there as narration was not in the original script. And then so for those lines, you would have to actually write what the narration is going to be to make sure that somebody who's sitting back, right? Because the whole idea is you should be able to just sit back, close your eyes, and see the whole movie if you listen to our production. So yeah, we had to do that from opening curtain to closing curtain of that whole. I am trying not to curse. I don't even know what the protocol is.
Oh no, you good? We grown. We grown folks here.
For the whole flipping script. Yes.
Yeah, and 7 or 8 hours. That was that's actually like a modest estimate. If they were 7-8 hours at a clip, there were at least 3 or 4 of those.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's one of the things that jumps out, because you're right, David. When you're watching the movie or any movie, the sort of narration stuff is visually shown to you, so you don't ever have to think about what's going on. But when you convert it over to whether it was a novel or this, there's another element that omniscient presence that's going to have to describe the events that's going on. And I think you guys nailed it. It was really it made it seem a whole different way. As a person who's watched this movie for many years, I was like, wow, that's dope. Like, they're actually describing what's going on. And so, yeah, that was awesome. And go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. And Louis, I heard you about to speak, so I'll throw it to you. That's, Michael, exactly what you said is part of what made it so magical because everybody knows this, our cast and crew, amazing people. They know this movie backwards and forwards. So, when Ed leans in on the table and he knocks the silverware and the glasses, like he just did that, like Tracy Humphreys with the bucket, like she's in her house. I don't even know. I think she has like a plastic children's like beach pail or something. Like,
yeah, I didn't know if that was some Fisher Price bucket that she had.
But she did it,
threw some ice cubes in there,
right? And the timing was spot on. So, like, it really just mattered. When I say magically came together, I'm not just using those words lightly. Like, this magically came together. And Louis, I heard you about to say something. I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just going to say that Addie and David did a phenomenal job on the translation. When I met them, it was later on in the project, and I sat in for a few of the early or later rehearsals. And after listening, I had a complete vision of how, to cut it up and do what I was going to do. It just made it so much easier for me.
And I like the magic aspect, but also I think it's important to know that it takes work, dedication, vision. And if you could talk to, I don't know if it's David, whoever, like, what was it like gathering the cast together and getting that, okay, it was rehearsal time and like pushing and getting, because the end result, it just sounds, like I said, it sounded like it was pre-recorded almost to me, not knowing anything about it. But to have everything work into sync like that, what did it take to get that going, man?
At the undertaking of this, you knew it was going to be work, and you knew it was going to be a significant amount of work. But what I always like to say is, I think, at least you can ask Addie and Louis, but for me, I think it's fortunate that all the work didn't present itself and make itself visible at the outset. Because, basically, because we operated, because I've never produced a play or anything like that. So, like, we sort of operated on common sense and logic, like, okay, we're going to do this. Okay, well, let's find a script online. Okay, great. All right, well, we got to get people to do this. So, okay, we'll hold some rooms. And that's what we did in early October, the month of October. Instead of having our regularly scheduled rooms, we would advertise that we're doing an open call, a casting room. And so Addie and I, we went through the script and we picked out scenes that we would use for the audition, a scene with Apollonia and the kid, a scene with Morris and Jerome and the Revolution or whatever, and so that, people would come up and we'd hold the room, people would come in and they would say who they want to audition for. And we would have them read the scene just one at a time. And we would record the casting sessions so that we could review those later. Actually, I can't even say we. Addie's the one that really seriously listened to the room all over again and made the notes on all the individuals who auditioned and said, okay, I think we got a Jill. Okay, I think we got a Wendy. I think we got a Lisa. Okay, but whatever the case was. And so we ended up having, I think, 5 rooms. And those were like a couple hours or 3 hours a piece of just having people read. And we had like tons of females that would audition, but we were coming up short or just scarce on the male voices. And, we kind of got lucky because, Reggie, who plays Jerome, was like, pow. And then, like you said, Ed, who played Morris, and every rehearsal we'd have to go on mute when he started doing his thing because the shit was just hilarious, and then the two of them together was hilarious. I was like, oh, we gonna kill them. We about to kill these folks. And so, boom, we get through the casting, and so we pick our final cast, and then we started the whole audition rehearsal process. And again, I guess that was common sense. I don't know, Addie, what did we just start doing read-throughs? Just that's really what it was? Because the sound wasn't even a thing,
No.
We had no sound yet, and we were not playing, so we were just working on the lines with the cast at that point.
Just, working on painting a picture without the sound. as best that we could, just translate it. For me, I'm a visual artist. So it's literally just about the sound, and so I knew when I heard who I heard when I heard it. And Michael, you talk about time and dedication. For me personally, again, I'm working through grief. I'm working through depression. I'm working through, unemployment, COVID, all these things. So it literally was like a full-time job for me. And after losing my partner, his presence was so inspirational to me that for a minute I thought that I didn't want to create, that I couldn't create. And I had never felt that way before. And that it scared the shit out of me. So this really was like the only thing I could concentrate on, the only thing I could focus on, the thing that got me up out of bed and made me feel like I was accomplishing something. And it had to do with Prince and my love for that man and, honoring him and respecting him, and just how Prince and my partner and even my mother, they've all passed away, and how all of their presence has been intertwined in this process. So I was all in, and being, a freelance creative, I'm used to figuring it out. You know what I mean? I'm used to showing up on set and being given, $30 and saying, okay, I need you to find 3 Mongolian rabbits. You know what I mean? So like that just kind of translated into casting people and, emailing people and scheduling people. And, all of my experience being on photo and film sets, from what I've learned from my friend Steve, who's a photographer and I worked with since college, it all just like really came into play, and it was amazingly like taxing and stressful. But we figured it out. Right. I knew we could do this, and I felt if we weren't going to do it, someone was going to. I don't know why. And I just felt we were the ones meant for this. We had to do it, and we did it.
I tell you, you hear, and when you listen to it, you can hear all of the work and the planning. It presents itself there, and you guys did an excellent job. A couple things I want to say. One, it's such a testament to me to Prince and sort of the things that he inspires, right? Just from him being himself and what he was doing all these years, and the level of excellence that he is known for. If you are into him or you're doing something related to him, that level of excellence, you can't, it's undeniable. Like, you have to step up on it, step up to the table. And that's such a great thing about Prince, aside from the music, all of that. But I think one of the things some of us take away from him is that spirit of excellence that, no, I'm not half-assing this. No. I don't care how many people showing up. I'm showing the fuck out. You know what I mean? Right. Like, that's what it's going to be. And
that's
so I love
so
that.
Right. And it's funny you say that. Oh, go ahead, Addie.
No. David and I, we were the bad guys sometimes.
Somebody got to be Joe Jackson.
Okay. Oh, you said it.
It's so funny you said that.
That's what it's got to
be. I mean, these are people with regular lives. You know what I'm saying? People that are working, people with families, pets, the whole thing. And they're doing this for the love. Nobody's getting paid for this. And we're fitting in those gaps in their lives. And so they don't want to hear, let's take it from the top again. They don't, it's kind of like they didn't, we saw how great things were, but in a way they kind of didn't. And that kind of actually helped. So it was like, okay, we know these people are tired of us. We're having 2 and 3 rehearsals a week, but yeah, imagine what it was like to be in Prince's band, and perform, and then have to watch your performance and take those notes and go back, maybe 5-6 hours later and rehearse before you perform again. So
absolutely,
that expertise definitely trickled down into the 3 of us.
That what really all that is, in my opinion, that is the just from it could either be somebody older generation in your family, or there was always that person who didn't take no shit and like, no, we gonna do it right, goddammit. And y'all not gonna be over here making me look crazy. That's that thing that we've had. We know that we don't get the opportunity to be out here messing up. Like, oh, you got a chance to do something? No, we gonna do it. And that's a part of Prince. And you see it in other artists of that level. But that's where that comes from to me. That's just the thing that we as people have always done. Now, it may have sometime gotten watered down or lost because, you know, when you mention a Joe Jackson or you mention a Prince, I think there's a side of Prince that we ain't really seen. Some of us have heard about that he ain't playing. Like, no, you gonna come, you know what I mean? Like, there's that, and I don't know if that part hasn't really been shown yet.
Yo, we laughing because in the rehearsals, like, that was a joke with the cast and company that I would be like, yo, don't let me have to go all Joe Jackson because, you know, we got to get this. And, you know, the way the thing came about, like, because, you know, the very first production on Clubhouse, which was actually a year to the date of the original date, we were originally going to do it on December 26th. And that was the year anniversary of them doing The Lion King, another group of folks doing The Lion King on Clubhouse, which was huge on the app as well. So when this idea came floating around, like, we should do a table read of Purple Rain. We should do a table read of Purple Rain. Okay, cut to we're actually doing it. And, you know, I think the vision for it, you know, first with, you know, me and Addie, and then when we brought Lewis into it and shared it with him, and, you know, he told us all that he could do. And like he said, you know, there wasn't anything like, we're like, well, could you do a so-and-so? And he's like, yeah. And so, you know, once he was saying we could do this, we could do that, you know, I would keep telling Taz, this is not a table read, this is a performance because we're doing this, you know, because when you first come up with the idea of doing Purple Rain, a table read, we're just going to read it like every time we give you a song, you say you can, no, you got to be like every time we give you a song, you say you're going to use it, you know what I mean? And then it came down to the music, you know, and you know, the various issues like, well, are we going to play the music and are we not going to play the music? And it's copywritten music and da-da-da-da-da. But it's like, well, you know, I know if I was listening to this and we didn't have the music, that's whack, you know? Okay, so there's going to be the music. So now we get the music in. Okay, well, what about when Prince and Apollonia are riding a motorcycle? We're going to have the full-on sound effects and da-da-da-da. And like, well, yeah, you know, and this is what I mean about the work revealing itself and the layers coming on, and we just tackle it as we go. That, yeah, we're going to have that. We're going to have that. I mean, when you said at the top of the show, you heard all the sounds that were in that movie. Like like Lewis killed it. You heard from Prince walking up the steps of his house to smashing up the basement to the crowd in First Avenue cheering to the motorcycle roaring to the sirens after Francis L. shoots himself. You know, like you heard every sound, like literally every sound, you know, and that was the whole thing.
One sound that I don't know if there was a sound in the movie, but now you make me want to ask you. So there's the part where Prince storms into the house. His dad had, I guess, beaten his mom's. Answer me, mother. But he does a spin. Was there a whoosh? Was there a whoosh?
I don't know how method Gerald was getting when doing that. Addie, do you know?
I can guess Gerald was definitely standing up. I don't know if he did the pirouette or not, but, you know, that was something that came up during the process. You know?
Maybe in the special edition, you add the whoosh.
Well, you know, we talked about, you know, should I narrate that? Like, should I say that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's a description. You know, like he wisps through the house, you know, like he opens doors, he turns around, you know, he spins around on his heels. Like I literally could have said that. I could have said that, David. But,
That's right. You could have.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I wanted to ask, make sure. One, I wanted to say, shout out to Tammy, who actually had the idea of us linking up and talking on here. So salute to her. And also, I wanted to ask you about Ruth. Salute to Ruth. Was she the one that sort of sparked the idea?
That was all her idea, wasn't it?
Okay.
It was all
I
our idea.
believe during the summer, one of our rooms, I forgot what convo we were having in the room, but, I believe, that she was like, oh, we should do a table read of Purple Rain. And right, Addie, her original idea was just to play it up for comedy, like amateurs doing it and just lampooning the scenes.
The drunk version, like she says.
Right.
That would have been something else. Well, I don't know how that would have.
Well,
that'd have been interesting.
Like you might have heard boing at certain parts, namely the Minnetonka scene, like things like that. Like Ruth has such an amazingly colorful sense of humor, and I still think that her version needs to be done for sure, and I'm sure it will at some point because she's a brilliant lady. But again, with the casting, and that we had that frame of mind stepping into it because we said, listen, this is open to interpretation. If you want to be funny with it, be funny with it. If you want to just step outside of the usual lines to color within, do that. And Tammy actually is the one who did that. She came in to read for Father, and she had a megaphone. She read those lines, and it was like, whoa. It just gave such a different dimension to it that she read, and she came in just wanting to read with people because, we hadn't found a father. We hadn't found any of the male roles.
Oh, she was an MVP during the whole process.
Absolutely.
I mean, she might have read damn near every role at some point or another, because like Addie's saying, these are real people with real lives, work, kids, whatever. And so, okay, Wendy's not here. The woman playing Wendy's not here. Okay, Frances L isn't here. And, and there, Tammy would just step in and put on the mask and do it.
Right. Wow. But she was so creative with it that, by the time we had gone through all of the auditions and casted, it just kind of settled into a traditional thing. You know what I mean? Because people, like, after a minute, it's like, okay, we can't really fuck with this. You know what I mean? Like, we can't, it just, and the talent that showed up, it was really more traditional. And so it was a really tough decision not to have her be Father, but she was an incredible puppet. She really, really was, and she was such a trooper and such a gem on our cast and crew that it just goes back to Ruth's initial feeling of it being creative and just kind of on acid, Purple Rain on acid, acid rain maybe, but it just kind of settled into a traditional thing, but it was definitely Ruth's idea.
I mean, originally we said that anybody could read for any role. A man could read for, I didn't know what none did, but a man could read for a woman's role, a woman could read for one of the male characters. But then, like Addie's saying, as we were going along, and we're doing this in an all audio medium, so it's like, look, we're just going to have men play men and women play women and then that'll be it, and that's basically what we did. And as far as the humor goes, I know one of my feelings is like, well, even if we were to do that lampooning of it or whatever, I don't want people to think like we're making fun of them, laughing at the movie instead of laughing with that, so then it just settled into, no, we're just going to do a recreation of the production with straight up acting. And again, to what Addie's point was and what you were mentioning about the rehearsals is like, there was like 2 people with acting experience that were in the cast.
Yes.
But other than that, it was all amateurs. I mean, we got, HR people that are playing roles. One of the members of the cast is a Secret Service agent. Another guy's a cop. Like, this is
Ed, the man who plays Morris. He's a policeman. He was in his car.
Morris is a cop from Mississippi.
One of the
He's like, hold on, I got to call in.
That's true. One of the first rehearsals, he was actually doing his lines. He's like, hold on, I'll be right back. I got to go check on some dead bodies. And we're like, wow. And I'm like, what? And then everyone explained what was going on. It was like, geez.
Right, you hear like a 222 responder, 222 responder. Hey y'all, let me get back with y'all.
I need some asses wiggling. Hold on for a minute.
So when we were rehearsing them and having to get these lines right, it's like, okay, we done did this scene 6 times, but I didn't hear it yet. And my whole thing is like, and our whole thing was, look, we're not going to be getting up there on show night and the shit sounds, so we got to do it again. Mm-hmm. Like, we just got to do it again. I feel you, but we got to do it again.
Man, I love it. I love it. And I love the respect that you guys have for the material, for Prince. Just amazing. I wanted to shift just a little bit and talk about Purple Rain. Obviously, everybody involved in this has a love on some level for this material, for this artist, particularly this movie itself. I wanted to ask you guys a question. You just produced your version of Purple Rain, but take me back to Purple Rain, the movie, when it comes out back in the 80s, 84 to be exact. Purple Rain came out with July 27th of 1984. And also I wanted to frame this to say there were other movies. There were many movies that came out during this time, but a couple of them that I remember and are very strong to me, and I think culturally to a lot of people, that I almost forget came out around the same time. And a couple of ones I wanted to mention were movies like Breakin', which is a spotlighted breakdancing set in LA hip hop movie. This came out in May of 84. And then soon after that, another movie that I saw opening night, Beat Street, another hip hop movie set in New York this time, the birthplace. I would just say this. I feel like in my mind, I felt like I saw Purple Rain first, but obviously the dates show me that I didn't, because Beat Street came out in June 8th to be specific. But I remember it coming out, Beat Street, and it was such a big deal for me and my partners. We went to the theater, mobbed to the theater in a little group. I call it a group now. It might have been called something else back then. But we went there as a group, went to the first showing, sat down, and stayed in that theater for the next 3 showings and did not move out of our seats. Now, I could tell you sort of the mindset of what our group was about, to not leave out of a paid and just sit there and watch them. But we were enamored with that movie. Like,
I remember when you could do that.
Right.
Good old days.
And I just remember LL Cool J coming in and just all of that stuff. I'm not LL Cool J, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Crush Groove. Beat Street. But we're sitting there watching it. And then I remember, though, Purple Rain. And I remember where I wasn't really into Prince at that time. I knew who he was. My cousin from Houston was a massive Prince fan, right? And she moved to Seattle. And so I remember she kept talking about this Purple Rain. The album was already out, and it was a wrestle between her wanting to play Purple Rain on the boombox at the park versus me wanting to play Run DMC. Right? Going to see that movie the day it comes out was like, it was like Star Wars or something, or an Avengers movie. It was like my whole school was amped to go see Purple Rain the day it came out. And, the rumor was, this was like an X-rated, or, I didn't know what to expect, but blown away by what I saw on the screen and instantly becoming a super Prince hit. And it changed everything. But looking back at it, I remember I was so much. Here's what I'll say. I'm gonna stop talking. I was really so much into. I was a Michael Jackson dude who was also into rap and hip hop, and then Prince just came into my awareness and shattered all of that stuff, and my entire focus sort of shifts. But I wanted to ask you guys, what were your thoughts and recollections of Purple Rain and its effect? And how even back then you started to kind of see, in my opinion, there was the changing of the guard of, there was Prince stuff, but then there was hip hop was, coming from being sort of a very niched thing to just like sweeping everything. So I'm running my mouth. I want to go to David first. And I'm asking you, David, because you have in the background being at places like Def Jam and working around some of these cats. I'm just curious what your thoughts and recollections were on Purple Rain when it first came out.
Well, I think it was good that, I guess I'm like of age where I experienced that live as I was 16, I think, when Purple Rain came out. And, there's certainly other members of the cast who are Prince nuts, but, a lot of them might have been younger and maybe experienced it after the fact, or maybe they were mad young when it came out. So, to your point, I remember what that was, right? Because when Prince first came out, like, okay, I want to be a lover and soft and wet. And, I like those songs. Controversy, I wasn't full on Purple board until 1999. Then I was all in and I was all about that album. So I was primed by the time Purple Rain came out. And so I think the thing of just having experienced it live in real time is, what that was, like to your point when it dropped. And like you said, the 80s, the soundtrack movies, like Flashdance afterwards or Footloose just earlier in the year before, in 84, before Purple Rain came out. With the accompanying videos being big on MTV and, so you knew what that was to the culture. It's like trying to explain to like somebody younger, like about Thriller being big. Yeah, you can, it sold 38 million records and it had X amount of number ones or whatever. But, you had to like be there to just even see how it permeated, same thing with Purple Rain, how you would hear it out of a car, how you would hear it in like, a club or, even a department store. You could hear like when something gets big and people outside the audience, like adults are like banging this Purple Rain thing. And to even know, just to have that feeling of, oh, I just happened to click past MTV. There's Prince again. There's Michael again. Like how big it was. And especially with Prince's case, now all the other stuff is bubbling up around him. Chaka doing I Feel For You and Apollonia 6 and The Time. And just to realize how massive it was. So I think that added into the whole, like, we got to do this right, because, motherfuckers got to get what this was and still is, and make it sound as special as it was when it originally imprinted on me or on Addie, and Lewis, with his respect for Prince, so that I think contributed to taking the material seriously and wanting to do our best to make it come off the way it came off for us. Cause I saw that and I was just like, because I didn't really know. I saw the commercials. I didn't know anything about the storyline. And frankly, right, like we'd only seen Prince. That was the most I heard the man talk, right? Because you just saw, the videos and, I got a light in my pocket. Mommy like, oh my God, this guy's so funky and whatever. But, in the movie, like, that's like, the revolution, these people talking and then, oh my God, who these two, Morris and Jerome, holy shit, so, like the whole movie was a revelation, even, if some of it was like fictional or whatever, still like, it just drew like a whole full picture of the scene. Like I told a friend of mine, I was like, the only thing I ever thought about Minneapolis prior to that point was like, Fran Tarkenton and the Vikings and Mary Tyler Moore. That's all I like Minneapolis, so, that just put it on the map. And when you saw the performances and, every scene where Prince is talking, I'm like, oh my God, is that him? Is that real? Is that real? Did his mother and father really do that? So.
the beauty of seeing Apollonia on the screen.
Oh, she's on my original crush list.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh my goodness! I bumped up a stage in puberty at the Lake Minnetonka scene. Come on, man! I told you I was 16. I was like, what?
Yeah, it was I had never seen anything like. I mean, and then the fact that they would actually have her go topless at my age.
Yes, Lord.
That was I had never seen nothing. I don't know. It was like I had never seen it. And then the sex scene, I was like, this is allowed to show this? I remember my mom was in the theater when we saw it, and I looked back at her. I know she was like, what in the fuck? But I was like, whoa, like it just opened a whole nother door. Like, I want to do that. Like maybe I didn't need to be doing that, but
well, when the movie actually came out, I was at a summer school program at Wellesley College up in the Boston area, and we had movie nights, but they wouldn't let us to go see Purple Rain because of the rating. So it was a 2-week program. So it was during that 2-week span when the movie opened, and man, I couldn't get back to New York soon enough. And I went with 2 friends from Exploration. That was the name of the program, and we went to go see it right on 3rd Avenue across the street from Bloomingdale's or something. And I was like, whoa. All that stuff you're describing, like, whoa, between that and the music and then this storyline, I was like, I'm all in.
Yeah, it was incredible. Lewis, what you have any recollections of Purple Rain back in 84?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't really see Purple Rain until later on. I think around 84, I was more into like Indiana Jones and Break-In, Beat Street and things like that. But to me, it was more, I think, an older, people 18, 19, because I was like 15 at that time.
Okay.
Because of, I guess, the rating that it was, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I wasn't really interested in it. I don't think at that time.
When did you see it?
Might have been 88, 89.
Really? Okay.
Around that time.
What'd you think about it, seeing it at that point? And that's a different Prince at 88 than he was.
Yeah.
Love Sexy Prince.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was a good movie. I was, I can't really speak on that. I don't know.
Keep it honest.
No, sorry.
No. Okay.
You could edit this all out.
No, man, this is the real stuff. So, Addie.
Yes.
Talk to us about your Purple Rain.
Oh boy, man. I was 13, and I grew up in Allentown. We were the only black family in our part of town, blah, blah, blah. And Crystal had a term that she would say whenever she'd come home from a punk rock show or a heavy metal show or a rock concert, and she'd come home and she'd say, I saw a unicorn tonight. And so I knew what that meant. It meant one of the few, if the only other black kid, there. And so for me, it was seeing like a real live unicorn, because at the time I was into hip hop, Wild Style, Style Wars, Beat Street, all that stuff. I went out and I begged my mom for an airbrush so I could, I learned how to tag. Like I practiced, I was doing all that stuff.
Trying to do pieces and
you were tagging up Allentown?
I was tagging up Allentown, man, and tagging up T-shirts for kids in, junior high school. And I was, listening to Power 99. I was writing down the lyrics to, Friends, like teaching, like Houdini, like LL, like I was like all in, and also into Michael Jackson. My entire bedroom was covered with Michael, trading cards, magazines, posters, like the whole thing. And I just remember my sister coming, asking me to come into her room, which was very rare. My sister Crystal, she's older, 5 years older, and she put these headphones on me and she's like, listen to this. And it was God. And I was like, what is this? And so the next thing I knew, I was in North Philly with my cousins, and they were talking about, let's go downtown and, let's see Purple Rain, let's see Prince. And I was like, oh, that guy that used to be on American Bandstand. Like I'd seen him. But again, I was a little younger. And so just to see him up on that screen, a young, beautiful black man, the way he dressed, the way he moved, you know, and to hear all the things that I was into, you know, punk rock, rockabilly, funk, you know, like I was into all different kinds of music, and just to see him and all these other beautiful, you know, young Black musicians, and just this little peek into this whole new world of creatives, for me, it was like, wow, he's a unicorn. You know, like I wished I had a guy like him in junior high. You know what I mean? Like my life would be completely different now. You know what I mean? Like for me, it was just like, wow, this is just, and then like it was Prince, like from there on. You know, of course, I still appreciated other forms of music, but for me, just to see these young, talented people do their thing and not worry about being stereotyped and held within the lines, it blew my mind. And yeah, after, you know, seeing him on MTV, because I grew up again in Allentown, and we were some of the first to get cable at the time in the country, and so you know, Crystal came to me one night. She was like, listen, there's going to be this channel that's just going to show nothing but music videos 24/7. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So we were glued to the TV. And so to see him, like David said, to see him, wait, he blinks? Wait a minute. You know, he licks, like he really does lick his lips. Wait a minute. He walks, like, you know, all these things, like, it was just absolutely mind-blowing. I don't even know what I just said for the past 3 minutes, so I'm sorry, but that's my answer.
You know, it's listening to what we just described and what you guys are saying. You know, one of the things, a couple things you can hear everyone, you know, the MTV, the music video, sort of seeing something that you never seen before, and you never got to really see it all the way. So every little thing would seem like a revelation. Like you said, oh, he actually talks. Like the fact that because you didn't get to see everything about him, and everything was sort of, I don't know if it was curated on purpose, or it was just that the access to information was very limited, and it was a very small window to watch things. And also remember too, you could, only people who had a little bit of money had a VCR, so you could rewatch something. So a lot of it was just off of memory, or if you caught it again on TV somehow. And I say all that to say, it's interesting now in today's world where there is so much to see. You see every aspect of it all, and it's all recorded, and you can all watch it when you want to. Yep, anytime you want to.
Culture.
Yeah. It's so nothing is left to memory, and nothing sort of becomes a myth in your mind almost, because you can immediately get anything you want about it. It's interesting to see how Prince will be discovered for people of today. And there are people that are discovering Prince today, right? It's interesting, like I said, that they're going to have a very different way of learning about Prince. And things like what you guys did is helping, you know, to sort of bring it to this different generation that has got a lot more access to stuff. So now not only will somebody be able to watch the movie, but there'll be people that it's going to sound crazy to some people, that may hear your thing first in a sense and be like, oh, I've heard of this in pop culture, right? I've heard of things when I was a kid that I didn't know about, but I heard of the Beatles songs or I understood that they existed, but I didn't go deep. But I could see somebody hearing this and be like, you know what? I want to go see that. I want to watch that movie. This sounds very interesting. You know what I mean? And it's just cool that fans and people are creating things like this that are helping to sort of foster his legacy moving forward. And never would have thought we would have been in that position. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was in our minds as well, you know, and there are certainly people that, you know, and I think we've all gotten feedback like this leading up to the performance and after the performance, where people were like, oh, I got to make sure I watch the movie again before the performance, or said afterwards, like, oh, I got to watch the movie again now. Or I listened to that. My friend's like, oh, I listened to the album after the performance on Spotify. And then I just listened to the playlist it created based off of Purple Rain and stuff. And actually another thing, which I thought of when you were talking about Addie's narration and the whole thing about being able to close your eyes and stuff. We got feedback from some visually impaired people that listened to the performance. And one of them, I'm actually in another group on Clubhouse. So we play Name That Tune every week. And in the Name That Tune room, like that happened after the performance, like, and actually in the after party on the same night as the performance, and then in the room later on in the week, you know, she was talking about how much she appreciated the performance because she, quote unquote, saw the movie when she was younger, but of course she's visually impaired, so she didn't see it. But then the way we did it, you know, where everything was said, like she didn't have to hear it and put it together, and how that was just such a deep thing for her. But the interesting thing is sighted people. I had another friend who saw the movie, was my age, right? So she was 16 when it came out and has seen the movie. But, you know, I think sometimes between Addie's great narration, great narration, and that's like some of the top feedback we get is about Lewis's sound and Addie's narration and voice. And so when you have her telling you, like, you may not get it from the acting, you may not get the whole emotional payoff or the angst or the tension or whatever, but when you listen to our production, like Addie's telling you, you know, like, this is why the kid's jacked up. His home life is jacked up. His band is falling apart. He's about to lose his, like, you know, and so she said, like, she was sitting up there with the Kleenex by the last third of the movie. You know, so I find that to be also powerful. So, but my original point in bringing all that up is, yes, we hope it helps keep the legacy alive. Like, to me, like, if anybody from Paisley Park or the estate listens to it, it is a plus because, you know, Prince is no longer here with us, and you need to keep revitalizing and kindling new interest in all his great, you know, creative works, you know, and this, we hope, is just a new way for people to discover it and get curious about it and take that step into the rabbit hole.
All right. Well, man, you guys did it, man. Congratulations. It is definitely, I think it's excellent.
Thank you.
And I'm a guy that's like hardcore. Oh, they ain't gonna. This better be.
See, now that's the other thing with the Prince fans. See, I'm glad you said that. That's the other thing with the Prince fans, why you got to come correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they did it, but you know, I mean, I've been running Clubhouse Quick for a year, so I know. Okay, like, so you had to come correct. Absolutely. You know, and I just got to say one more thing about Lewis, right?
Sure.
When we're doing it, first of all, you know, the idea was hanging around from when Ruth said, let's do it in the summer. And then it had been hanging there and we didn't move forward. We did move forward. It was getting around to the fall. And Addie's the one that put the battery in my back. She's like, we can do this. We can do this. I was like, yeah, no, we can do this. And so I was like, all right, okay, I guess we could do it, you know. And so we went to move ahead, and we had there was another sound person who was on board, right? That had worked on previous Clubhouse productions. And like we said before, like, if we're not going to do the music, which leads us into the sound effects, and have it done the way it's supposed to be done, then why do it? So we really only moved it forward after Addie put the battery in my back, and we did find the sound person. And at some point, like right before Thanksgiving, he had to bow out. We'd already started rehearsing the cast. You know what I'm saying? So like, while we're expecting, like, well, certain sound is being designed and so forth, we're going to rehearse the cast while the music is getting put together. But then we kept rehearsing the cast and the music dropped out. So there was like a 2-week period where we did not tell the cast, like, hey, we don't have a sound guy. And we're still rehearsing the cast, like, we're still going to do this. Like, right?
Fake this, is the part
this is the part where we're operating without a net at all, you know? So So we're rehearsing them, and to your point, and we're rehearsing them hard too. Like, no, we got to do that again. We got to do that again. We still don't have a sound guy.
No.
And so one of the guys who's a member of Club Housequake that Lewis referred to, Michael, he actually grew up in Minneapolis. He actually, when he was a young dude, worked at First Avenue, and he had met Lewis in another music room on Clubhouse, and had been talking to him about doing some stuff, whatever, some, creating some content around music on Clubhouse. And so one day I'm on the phone with Michael. I'm like, oh, dude, I don't know, dude, the sound guy dropped out. We got these folks rehearsing, like, we're about to do this and we don't have a sound guy. And he was like, I think Lewis can help you. He's got the skills and the equipment you need. And he just said, he put Lewis in the mix. And Lewis was like, right, you were out camping that weekend or something when we were having this conversation. So he's like, well, I'll put you on the... Right. So he will put you on the horn with Lewis when he gets back. And we got on a 3-way call. And this is the first time I'm ever talking to Lewis. And so Michael's basically like, well, tell him what you need. So I was like, well, we're doing Purple Rain, and we're going to need this, we're going to need that, we're going to need the other, right? And dude, this is like within the first 7 minutes of the call, while I'm telling him what we need, all of a sudden through the phone, you start hearing click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, like dude is just working on the keyboard. Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, clack. And all of a sudden, I hear Let's Go, like he audio designed what you actually heard in the opening of the movie, the Let's Go Crazy number. Like while we were on the phone, the first 7 minutes that I ever talked to him, like, boom, he did it. I was like, and can you get the horns that come in, the trumpet sounds? Like, oh yeah, I can do that. I was like, you can? And it was like, oh, like, I was like, oh, we can do this. So like, he totally came in like right after halftime and like worked those first couple of weeks to just basically catch up. And start designing all these scenes, start designing the Lake Minnetonka scene, start designing and boom, 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 boom. And then there was like a period of time where we knew he was fast at work, but we hadn't yet put the music and the sound effects with the actors. But he's still working at this point now. So we hear it. Me and Addie hear it because we had those marathon sessions on the phone with Lewis as well. Like Lewis spent mad hours on the phone. Like, I mean,
19 hours at a time. Like no joke. 24 hours we were on this. Yeah.
So
we were doing it a lot.
Yo, go ahead, Lewis.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, all this to say, so Lewis comes in after halftime, catches up. And then all of a sudden now we're at a certain level where we're doing such tweaks on such a detailed level that he can deliver that's really bringing the thing to life. And so like, to me, the best compliment that the production gets is what you said, Michael, when people thought like the thing was pre-recorded, because the fact of the matter is like, it is like a group of 30 people in 14 different cities around the country, a person out in the UK that's all never been in a room together that did this together from start to finish. And Lewis and Addie, Lewis with the sound, Addie with the voice, totally the glue, And so that's what I find so magical about it. And, that we pulled it off. Like I always take tremendous pride in what, these guys were able to do. Tremendous pride.
Wow.
Well, what helped me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what helped me really was when David stepped to me, they knew what they wanted, so it kind of gave me a vision of what to do. And then once I heard a few rehearsals, timed it, and then I knew what I had to do. And just, we worked together late nights, 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And when this production was done, I'm gonna be honest, it was like, I was hoping for a phone call that day because we were all done. We were staying up till 2-3 o'clock editing. And then we did the production and it was like no phone call that night. Like, oh shit. We went. Yeah, we did.
Listen.
So I think we're friends for life.
Word. We shared that foxhole.
Here's the other part. Now we'll wrap it up. Everything you just described that you put into this, look at what we can do when we come together. Look at the type of complexity, organization, determination of vision. Look at what we can do when we decide to come together and link up. You just said with 30 people nationwide, worldwide, working with technology as it is, making it happen, taking something that's beloved to us and presenting it with respect to the world to show that we love this thing and it's important. And matter of fact, we're going to come together, not getting paid, but we're going to do it at the top level, and it's an accomplishment. So if nothing else, certain people, when you hear this, yes, Prince, excellent, all that. But listen, look at how our people can come together, and everybody was ready. Lewis already had years in the game. He was ready. He ready for situations like this. Addie, David, and other people, they understood what it takes. They've been putting in work. Egos got put aside, vision, place, execution, magic comes out of it. So I'm just saying, like, man, look at what we can do when we link up. Imagine if we take this same type of determination and work ethic to do this. Imagine if we took that and was like, you know what? Let's apply that to some other shit we got going on in our people. So we can do all kind of stuff, man. That's all I'm just trying to say. We can do incredible stuff, man.
Absolutely.
Salute to all you guys, for sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
We're going to put the link in the show notes, but David, where can people go to find this excellent production and they can hear it and share it?
You've joined the Clubhouse app, and all you got to do is search Clubhouse Quake. And please join the club. You don't have to join the club to listen to it, but why wouldn't you want to join? So join the club. And when you're on the Clubhouse Quake profile page on Clubhouse, all you got to do is scroll down and the replays for the club are right there. And so you'll see it. Purple Rain presented by Clubhouse Quake. You just click on it and press play, and you can hear exactly what we've been talking about just now. So please do check it out. If you're a casual Prince fan, a Prince nut, or you're a Purple Rain fan, or you're curious about the movie, it really was. I'm not just saying it because we were doing it. Like, it's funny. After the thing was done, at some point, like after we just detoxed and whatever, like I remember Addie's like, I just listened to it. It was really good. I was like, I know, right? I was like, for real, right? Yeah. So it really did come off. So please check it out. Please enjoy it. We think you'll be highly entertained.
All right. And David, where can they find you online?
You can find me on Clubhouse Quake. David Belgrave on Clubhouse. On the Clubhouse app. You can follow me on Instagram, Computer Blue.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Addie, where can they find you online?
Oh gosh. I would say, well, I literally haven't been active on social media in almost like a year. So I'm just getting back into it. But I would say Instagram, ADDYE Joy Fantastic. That's Addie Joy Fantastic on Instagram.
All right. Mr. Lewis, where can they find you, sir?
Let me just say something real quick before I get into the link. I don't have many links, but if you really want to listen to the full experience and the good quality, because I'm going to be honest, I hate the Clubhouse replay. And I don't know. You go to SoundCloud and search for Clubhouse Quake on SoundCloud, and you'll get the full mix, and it's you'll be blown away by the quality. My link, really, link me on Clubhouse. It's STILZINK, Stilzink. You can find me there. And then that's it. And I just want to thank David and Addie for really putting this wonderful project together. It was great.
All right.
Thank you, Lewis. We're so
did
grateful
that
for you.
shit.
All
So
right,
grateful.
And
ladies.
trust me, if you didn't cross our paths, the shit wouldn't have happened. So thank you too. And Michael, before you wrap up,
Yes, sir.
you got to come through and participate in some rooms. I thought of something earlier when you were talking about Michael Jackson, because earlier on in the year, we didn't call it Prince versus Michael. We didn't want it to be an adversary, but we had a Prince and Michael and MJ discussion room.
Okay.
Which was very spirited, to say the least.
I can imagine.
And we always said we were going to do a part 2, which we're in the works doing right now. And we think we're going to change up the format. We're going to have a couple of DJs that typically do the Prince Michael Soul Slam parties, kind of do mini sets and pepper it with discussion, debate, or straight up argument. But, and the thing that we got to do more, I got to get more Michael people in the room too. So, whether it's that room or, we've got a couple other different rooms in the works and are always coming up with new ideas. You're welcome to come through and kick it with us, whether we're talking about a perform, whatever it is, come on through.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please go check these guys out. It's incredible. Definitely, you're going to love it. Shout out to all of our Patreon listeners. Thank you for the support. We're going to keep this thing growing. And shout out to all of our YouTube family as well. You already know what I'm going to say at the end of this thing. Work it like a job. We'll see you next time. Peace.